Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Who is leading in autonomous vehicles today? Well, the answer might surprise you. GM is actually a clear leader through their subsidiary Cruise. This is a company that is technically separate from General Motors, has its own board of directors, its own CEO, but GM owns about 80% of the company. And so I want to get into exactly why I think this is a clear leader in autonomous vehicles and makes GM itself a great buy. My name's Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content, and I'll put a link in the show notes to both a deep dive I did on Cruise and GM and also to my newsletter Asymmetric Investing, so check those out. But I want to start with some recent news from Cruise itself. This is a tweet from Kyle Voigt, the CEO of Cruise, announced on July 7th that the company had passed 3 million driverless miles. This is completely autonomous driving, and that was nearly 2 times faster than the last million. Now, I went back through and looked at the numbers when they got their license to drive fully autonomously. For the first million miles, it took Cruise 477 days to get to a million miles. The second million took 89 days, and the third million took 46 days on average. That last million miles means that Cruise drove about 65,000 autonomous miles per day. But that's not the most important data that I want to go through here. Most of the driving that Cruise is doing is done in the state of California. And in California, you have to report these disengagement reports. This shows how many autonomous miles you're driving, how many times any vehicle is disengaged by the driver or safety driver. And so what I did is pulled this second report here, the autonomous mileage report. You can see this is just a bunch of data. Once you put it into a spreadsheet, it looks like this. You get miles per month for each vehicle. This is the VIN number right here. And there's about 1,500 vehicles on the road. Cruise has a lot of them. Waymo's actually doing more miles. So I added up all the miles for kind of the main companies to think about in this space. Waymo clearly doing the most miles at 2.9 million. Cruise, though, 863,000 miles. You can also see part of this report is the annual total disengagements. So I added up those disengagements, and you can see that Cruise only had 9 disengagements in the entire year of 2022. Waymo had 170, Apple almost 6,000, even though they drove a lot fewer miles. And this final column here is the miles driven per disengagement. So Cruise, 96,000 miles per disengagement, far ahead of Waymo at a little over 17,000 miles, and Zoox at a little over 26,000 miles per disengagement. Apple, obviously, only 21 miles per disengagement, and Tesla reporting 0 miles driven fully autonomously in the year of 2022. Now, if we go to the driverless, so fully driverless miles that are driven, there are only 4 companies that are reporting any miles. Cruise is by far the leader with over 500,000 miles. You can see that big column right here. Cruise is driving about 10x the number of miles fully driverless as Waymo is right now. And then Apollo is the other company with 21,700 miles. So when it comes to actually getting autonomous vehicles on the roads, getting even the safety driver out of the vehicle, Cruise is clearly a leader. And not only is it a leader, it appears to be safer than its competitors because there are fewer disengagements per mile. The other thing that they report is every single incident that happens. And I looked through a number of those, and it's interactions like somebody rear-ending a Cruise or a biker running into the Cruise. There have not been any major incidents reported, despite Cruise, Waymo, Zoox, all of these companies reporting millions of miles driven in California and specifically in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I think that's just a phenomenal step forward for autonomy. And Cruise is a clear leader. I think the most telling chart that I showed here is that from a fully driverless autonomous vehicle standpoint, Cruise is doing 10 times more miles than Waymo is at over 500,000 miles per year. And that pace is growing rapidly. And remember, this data is a little bit old. This is 2022 data. So Cruise continues to deploy extremely rapidly in California. I think we're going to see the pace of their deployment rise really quickly. Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors, has said that she expects Cruise to generate $50 billion in revenue in 2030. That's only 7 years from now. So this pace of deployment looks like it's going to keep picking up, keep adding cities and states to the fully autonomous fleet. I just think this puts Cruise in a phenomenal position, and you're basically getting it for free with General Motors. General Motors trades for about 6 times earnings. There's not a lot of value there that investors are putting on Cruise. So I think if you're interested in autonomous vehicles, if you think robo taxis are the future, this is absolutely the best way to invest in it. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. And if you enjoyed this video, check out my deep dive on Cruise. I'll link to that in the show notes. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.